Sorry about that. Can you see a white paper with a bunch of writing on it?
Yep.
Okay, so this sheet is from, this comes from the 90s. This was the kind of worksheet that they used to hand out at the old Israeli Church of Universal Practical Knowledge in More West. I just wanted to show this just so you get a sense of how they taught it. One thing you'll see in the middle column, you'll see the Phoenician characters, what they like to call the Paleo-Hebrew, that they took directly out of Ben Yehuda's dictionary. On the far right, you see some characters. They tried to create their own cursive. There's a Hebrew cursive that exists for the Ashuri script, the standard Hebrew script that you see everywhere, and the Israelis use the cursive. Arya created, or maybe someone before him, but he created another script. It's a completely new script, something they created, and you see it on the right.
That's the. Really understood that. So on the right column of what you're showing, that's their own invented cursive?
Yeah. So there's a cursive form for standard Hebrew, for the Hebrew that's used now, that's become standard, but there is no cursive form for the Phoenician, so they created a cursive form for the so-called Paleo-Hebrew, for the Phoenician script. And that's what that is on the right. But the main reason I wanted to show this, I'm gonna try to zoom in here. Tell me, is it zooming in?
Yeah, okay, excellent. Good. Ooh, excellent, looks good, bro.
All right, so now you see, if you look like this, can you see the word mouth, head, tooth, stuff like that, a support?
Okay, I see it.
And so the next to those English words are the names of the characters. But you'll notice there's something that looks like little smiley faces, little parentheses turned on their side. Do you see those little marks underneath them?
Oh, yeah.
And at the bottom, you'll see it says to connect letters, and then it says to separate letters. These are the diacritic marks that they themselves created. So they attacked the Masoretic text for having introduced these little character markings, yet they themselves introduced their own little system of diacritics. Yeah, and that's what that is. They created that to try to make sense of when do you vocalize a letter with A and when do you leave it silent? Like, why do you say shalom instead of shalama? But anyway, the question is why do you say Yasha Allah, right? Why do you vocalize the last letter, the lamed?
That's important. So can you tell everyone where that phrase is actually used a lot? But can you tell me, do you know, I don't know if you know this, do you know frequently in the street where you hear that phrase used by one Westers?
I'm not sure which one.
They usually say it after someone completes a bootlicking exercise.
Oh. Oh man, God help us.
That's
a disturbing subject unto itself. Oh boy.
Of where, a so-called Edomite will lick their boot, then immediately, in unison, they start yelling, Kwam Yashawala!
Go ahead. Come on up, you next. Come on, brother. This here is the work of the Lord. All you white people that's watching this is your future. Kwam Yashalom! Kwam Yashalom! Kwam Yashalom!
What they're saying is rise up, Israel, because they view it as a little snapshot of what's about to happen. So it's proof of their fulfilling prophecy, basically, the Edomite and the Israelite together. So they love to say it there. So I just had to mention, because people may wonder, what are they saying there? Why are they saying that? Because someone licks their boot. Well, that's why. But go ahead, brother.
So an interesting thing you might see on the internet, anyone who actually studied at One West will say Yasha Allah for Israel, right? And so most of the splinter groups say that. A thing that you'll see online, because now you have all these people, now Tahar sort of, he really pioneered this, even though there were other people doing it. He really did the thing which really pioneered spreading One West doctrine over the internet. What's happened is that it's no longer centralized. None of the splinter groups control it. So now things get distorted and evolve even faster. One thing you'll see, people who are not part of organized groups, people who are just kind of the DIY types, the do-it-yourself types who just imbibed it over the internet.
The one-man camps?
Yeah, those kind of guys. You start seeing them say Yasher Al instead of Yasher Allah. They don't put the A at the end. Now, that's a new thing. That's something they developed, but it does create an interesting question, which is, why do you say Yasher Allah, vocalizing the last letter, but you don't say Shalama? You don't vocalize the last letter when you say Shalom. And this is like, for example, they love to, when they get into the root in Jeremiah 14:2, they say it's Kadar, not Kadara. They might say Kadar Wa if they get into the Wa at the end, but the root, they call it Kadar instead of or Qadar instead of Qadar Ra, you know? Whatever the case, the question is, when do you vocalize that last letter and when don't you? This apparently was a question that went west, and to reconcile that, they had to create this system of, because they were inconsistent in that regard, they had to create their own little diacritic marks. You know, their own little diacritical marks, their own versions of the Nikudot. You know, instead of dots and dashes, they got these little smiley and frowny faces.
Bro,
you know?
I mean, this is a big deal. I had no idea until tonight that they created their own diacritical marks. I did not.
And it's funny because
I didn't know they created their own cursive.
Yeah,
now,
but that never caught on.
It never caught on?
The cursive never caught on, but there's a funny thing in one of Johanna's videos. They don't show it. You only hear him saying it, but he says right there on that wall, we got something over there that looks like Arabic. That's the ancient, we have a cursive form, a script form, or something like that. So while it didn't really catch on amongst the groups today, at least ISUPK might still have a little bit of on the wall of one of their schools.
Hypothetically, Abu, could you write a paragraph using that if you understood the...
Yeah, absolutely. You could write it out, and matter of fact, at the bottom of the page, you can see, here's the funny thing. Before they were calling it look at the bottom one. The name of the, I don't even know what this says. The name of the something is, I don't know, the name of the writing. Do you see that? The name of the writing is Ariyama Shah, to sort of give themselves credit. Do you see that at the very bottom of the screen? I'll try and
the writing. Yeah, okay.
And then they actually, on the right of that line, you see them writing Ariyama Shah. They actually attempt to write in cursive Ariya's name and then Mashah's name.
Oh. So wait a minute, are they saying that are they naming the cursive Ariyama Shah?
Yeah, which is sort of admitting that either it's an admission that they created it, or they're at least trying to take credit for its creation. That's funny that they called the script Ariyama Shah. But it's also relevant because you get to see them actually try to write something in their made-up cursive.
So wait a minute, that's like a decoder ring.
Yeah.
Because you could take that and know how to like use it, right? At that point.
Yeah.
We just cracked the code, bro. We could. I in my next book, I want to write a paragraph in that cursive and be like, "Can anyone tell me what this is?"
Man, the second edition of your book or your next book is gonna, in God willing, inshallah, is gonna have a lot of information on this, a lot of stuff.